shopping for your future. And today I'm just about to invite our very special guest, Cory Michelle. Let's see how I do this. Come on, and as we wait, how exciting is this? And she's here. How cool is this?
I'm here.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Future Whisperer Cory Michelle. Shopping for your future. How does it get better? And how did we get so lucky? I wanted to introduce you for anybody who watches this in the future, who doesn't know you. And you've got to remember, guys, anything I say about Cory Michelle, I actually won't be able to summarize it in a sentence, but if there's anyone who can basically teach, facilitate, and live a life of receiving and ask and receive, then this is your lady. She not only facilitates this and invites other people to receive. Nobody call me. I'm on a Facebook Live.
I was going to say, what just happened? I just went all
around the world. Somebody was calling me. You know how that happens when you're on a Facebook Live? Everybody in the world wants to try and get a hold of you. So welcome, and if anybody wants to find out more about what Cory's doing, she's very active. Yeah, they should be here. But she's very active online and just such a contribution to thousands, if not millions of people out there, facilitating, contributing, change, talking, asking questions, and really living her magic and being the magic. So, Cory, we're talking about, are you receiving what you're asking for?
Not just what you're asking for, but everything you're asking for.
Ooh, everything you're asking for. So this topic of receiving is so big, especially in a lot of the spiritual circles, access consciousness circles, and anybody who's doing any type of personal growth talks a lot about receiving. So in your words, like, what do you know about receiving? Like, what is it? What the heck is it?
I don't know if I can.
I just need to receive more.
Question. What is receiving? I need to receive more. Well, I will. How about we? Well, that's just such a loaded question because it's not just one thing, right? Like, oh, it's the space of being, blah blah blah. Like, what the fuck is that anyway?
Give me those generic answers. It's so funny. Like, we've all heard them, right? Like, it's a space of being.
Just lower your barriers.
Receiving is this, and yeah. So let's just take the myth out of all of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here going, oh, how do you even answer that question? If you're actually being pragmatic and offering something that could contribute to somebody, it's not just this effervescent space of whatever where people are left going, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm so pragmatic and no, actually, what is that? And not to define it, to limit it, but to more to give access to using it, to being it, to having awareness about it. So I think that one of the ways that I've explained it that people go, oh my God, that is receiving, is, because everybody says, oh, you don't have, like Gary Douglas says, you don't have a money problem, you have a receiving problem. Well, what the heck is that? Right? Yeah. And one of the things I noticed for myself that it seems to be a very common thing is if you are looking to receive more, one of the areas where you might want to look is receiving your awareness, right? And in what that might look like is when you ask, right? When you're asking for, I'll have this or I'll have that or whatever, then what actually are you receiving? A lot of times we go to the conclusion of, if I ask for more money, then where's the money? But what actually preludes, is that the word? Is the precursor to that, is the awareness. So it's like there's energies, there's awarenesses. That's what you actually want to be looking for, is what are you asking for? And then what is actually showing up in your awareness that's a match energetically to what you're asking for. And when you start to look there, because I wasn't at all paying attention to that. I kept focusing on the conclusion of what I thought I wanted. So if I always had a money problem, so I always was asking for more money. And what wasn't showing up was money, but what was showing up was all of these other things that if I were to receive them, choose them, acknowledge them, then all of a sudden my money stuff started to change.
Wow. So start looking at what is showing up is one of the keys you would say to start seeing what you are receiving. What I love about you, I mean, I love so many things about you, and the difference is I know you so well, so I'm trying to like sort of talk to you from a space of like, what is it that I don't know about you? And the pragmatic ways of looking at things and the honesty and vulnerability you are with the tools and you are with when you facilitate. And that's one thing that I found is super different. Like you are somebody who will say, I actually don't know what that means. And I've had, and you've probably had this too, a number of clients that come to you and say, you know, just teach me how to receive. I have a receiving problem. Or this person isn't receiving me, or I'm just not being received in this circle. So all of these are, you know, we get them every day. So could you talk more about that? Anybody out there who's listening, and it's okay if you are saying this to yourself, like, I just don't know how to receive. If I knew how to receive, or this circle would receive me, or this man would receive me, or whatever it is that you're looking for to receive you, what would you say to somebody like that?
Oh,
sorry.
Well, it's interesting. No, it's a great topic because there's so many points of view that we have about receiving, right? And so if we're looking like that one about being received in a circle or being received in a particular community, or, oh, this person can't receive me, you want to start looking at how many points of view and conclusions you have about what receiving is, right? And the significance you have about receiving, especially if it's being received by certain people. And so there's all of these funny things we do to ourselves with the points of view and where we resist and react and where we're looking for validation, because usually what that leads to is actually looking for validation that you belong, that you're okay. Like if you're being received or not, and then you can prove if you belong or if you don't belong, if you're okay or if you're not okay, or you can prove that you're right or wrong. And so all of those things usually lead to not receiving, no matter which way you go. So it's more like looking at what is it that you would really like your life to be like, and start asking for that, and then receiving the awarenesses, the energies that are showing up, that if you choose them, you start to connect the dots and the universe starts to be able to actually receive your message. Because the other part of receiving is the other way. So for example, if you have some inner conflict going on, I'd like to have more money, but I don't believe I can have it. I don't believe my business can make it. That's a very common one. If you're putting out there like, okay, universe, I'm ready to have more money, but internally it's totally in conflict, the universe is not actually receiving a direct, clear message of what you think you would like. It's receiving the direct, clear message of what is actually going on within you.
Yeah, the confusion.
I want it, but I can't have it.
Yeah, getting a cocktail message. It's like, do you want vodka or do you want like lemonade? What do you want? I want vodka with lemonade. Okay, there you go. Here's a bill and here's the money. And that's actually perfect, like the topic about money, because I was somebody who was asking for money and I would receive it, but then I'd also receive a bill that would equally match it. And that's where I called as a conflict. So you are getting what you're asking for, but you're also pushing away everything you're not willing to receive as well.
Right. And you're right. And right on the money with that, because you're already actually receiving everything that you are congruent with receiving. Right. Already. The universe is already working. The universe already has your back. But that's the other thing I think that's a huge myth out there, is that if the universe has your back, it's only going to give you good stuff. It's only going to be positive. It's only going to make things better, which is actually not true. The universe doesn't have a point of view. The universe doesn't care what it sends you. It's just delivering what you're willing to receive, what you're asking for that you're willing to receive, your message that you're receiving. And that, do you remember my Amazon Prime example?
Yes.
Analogy. Okay.
Share it.
So
you can share it.
Okay. So I think that the universe is like Amazon Prime. And if you're not in the United States, you might not totally relate to this, but Amazon and Amazon Prime are like this. They've got 1 billion products, available. But if you go on a website that has a billion products and you don't know what you'd like to order, it's very confusing, it's overwhelming, and you might actually order stuff that you didn't really want or wasn't exactly what you thought you wanted, right? You might order the wrong thing. So then it gets delivered and you're like, oh, I didn't want that, or oh, I don't want that anymore, or oh, that's the wrong thing, or that's not exactly right. Or why do I keep getting this thing? And it's because you're ordering it. But when you go on Amazon Prime and you know what you would like, you go, you find it, it's really clear to find it, you click on it, you buy it, and it gets delivered, right? Super clear.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not clear, Amazon can't deliver you anything, especially if you don't order, if you don't actually choose it, you don't place the order and pay the money, if you don't choose it, it can't deliver it. And you can't actually find what you're looking for if you don't know what you're looking for. So it can't actually get the message. But when you're clear, the universe can actually receive your message and you can receive what you're asking for. And it actually works just like that. Amazon doesn't care what you buy. Amazon doesn't care what you order. Amazon doesn't care what you're looking for. Amazon is there to deliver everything you order. And so is the universe.
Wow. So the key message, like I'm hearing, is it's clarity. Like, get clear about what it is you want. And I really, truly get that. I remember being in a class a couple of years ago and looking at the facilitator at the time, and I said, oh, gosh, like she just had this amazing big house and everything just looked like, you know, I had the judgment of she was somebody who knew how to receive. And I said, if only I could receive like you. And she turned and said, you don't have a receiving problem. You have a clarity problem. And it was like, bingo. We're always receiving. We don't have a receiving problem. Anybody watching this, you think you have a receiving problem, can you just dump that point of view, because you don't have a receiving problem. A lot of the times it's getting clear. What do you want to order from Amazon? What do you want to order from the universe?
Yeah.
Super
And then
cool.
if you have any of that stuff in the middle, like you've got some inner conflict going on, or you're carrying around baggage from your past, or you don't believe that you can have it, like that stuff's got to get cleared out of there before you can actually even have the clarity. Because otherwise you'll be going for things that aren't yours. They're a limited version. I mean, you could still go for them, of course, but notice where you've got stuff in the way, and that's the stuff to work on. Right? That's the stuff to, destroy and uncreate if you want. That's the stuff to choose beyond or whatever. But that clarity is essential, because if you don't have, like you just said, if you don't have the clarity, the universe does not know what to deliver you.
Mm-hmm. Completely. So how do people, like you've touched on, one of the ways to start getting clear is start to work out what is actually yours and what's actually a limitation or a belief system. You know, we've all grown up with different families. We've all grown up in different parts of the world. And, our environment's actually created a lot of who we are. So how do we know when we're asking for us and when we're asking for someone else? How do we even start to get that clarity? Where can somebody start right away?
Yeah. God, there's so many places. It just depends on really where you're at. So one of the things that you want to look at is, are you just totally confused? Like you're like, I don't know, because I actually hear that a lot. Like, I don't even know what I want.
Yes.
So let's just start to ask yourself, well, what would I like my life to be like? And so I don't go for things, right? For the car, or the house, the whatever, right? When you go for that sort of stuff, it's always a dead end. Why? Because there's no energy on it. It's just a thing. What you want to ask is, what's the energy like? So if you have plenty of money, what's the energy like? Who are you when you have plenty of money, right? When bills are no longer your daily ask, what would it take to pay the bills? When it's really of, wow, what other choices can I make? Who can I be in the world? What can I create in the world? What if choices were easy? What if I had like the space and peace of making any choice, right? That energy right there. What if your life was that energy with everything that showed up, with everything that you created? When you go for the energy over the thing, you'll create way faster.
Right.
Okay? So that's one thing I would share. And that's, I think, where a lot of people are confused, because like even with me, gosh, I started my career in business, you could say, after college. And I went into network marketing company, and everybody in the network marketing company would say, you know, what's your big why and what's your dream? Well, I was 23 and I knew I wanted a fun life. I knew I wanted money, but everybody there was married with kids, and they had these houses. They had like things. It was all about either taking care of the family and their kids or things. Like, I want the house, I want the retirement, and none of that ever was true for me. And I knew it, but I didn't know what was actually true for me, because one thing that they made totally wrong was the money. And so I was like, but I want the money too, but I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
clarity on anything else. So I actually stopped asking for the money because they were making it wrong and whatever, whatever. But what I was aware of that I didn't ever have words for is that the money would actually provide the choices for everything else that I actually intuitively wanted to do in my life, have as my life, create with my life. But I made having the money wrong, so I couldn't even get there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, but
absolutely.
it wasn't ever about the money. It was about the space of the choices. Does that make sense?
Right.
I don't know if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
right. So it's never the
Hopefully it does.
thing. So it's the, I want, a lot of people say, like, you know, I want $1 million. I hear so many people say that. I want $1 million. And it's like, what is the $1 million for? So that's the question you're asking. So once you have the $1 million, what would your life be like?
Yeah,
And that's the place to go to.
yeah, exactly. And even with that, like, fine, you have $1 million. You probably already made $1 million in your lifetime. So what? What's life like when you have what you think $1 million is going to give you? What's
Wow.
the energy of that?
Hmm. That's brilliant. There are so many brilliant nuggets in here. There's like a million questions in here. You really are like so pragmatic and just amazing at firing questions as well, by the way. You're brilliant at so many things. So receiving everything you desire. You want to talk more about that? Because you are somebody, like, I watch you and you truly do live, ask, and receive. Like, you completely embody that. And I've watched how you receive and I've watched how you create. And it's not that it's just all the good stuff, but it's things that light you up. And that's the difference. It's not that you've just got the car. It's not that you've just got the house. It's things that are lighting you up. So can you talk more about that?
Yeah, totally. Well, I actually don't desire anything. I don't function off
Wow.
of yeah, I don't function off of desire. I don't create what I desire. I use it in my marketing because a lot of people that's reads for them. But me personally, I don't create based on desire because for me desire is a point of view. And
Hmm.
I actually ask what will actually make my life worth living. So if there's anything
Great
I
question.
desire, I desire the lightness, but it's not even a desire, it just is. So I'm asking, okay, great. So what else can I choose that will contribute to me having, I have 5 priority energies of my, like, energetic priorities. So what will contribute
Hmm.
to me having those energies as my entire life? So any desire from that space is just a point of view. And a point of view is
Wow.
not going to create the awareness of whatever is going to contribute to me having those as my life. Does that make sense? I feel like we're like going way
Absolutely.
out
You
there.
always make sense. No, I like it. So, for everybody watching, can you just see that she's just taken everything we know about ask and receive to a completely different level? Now, this is one thing I have to say. I've taken a number of Corey's classes and highly, highly, highly recommend them. But one thing she did that I didn't see a lot of people teaching or facilitating was actually looking at that, like what rather than just going, I want the energies of like everything. And it's that complete lack of clarity again. Like, I want joy and I want fun and I want this and I want this. And we can go off in a sparkle tangent. And what I really like about what you've even just shared now is you actually have some priorities with, hey, universe, this is what my priority is. So everything I'm going to choose is going to be coming from this space. So what's
Yeah.
it been like living like that? Like knowing the energies that you want, being quite precise, because there's a lot of people who don't want to define them and limit them and,
Mm-mm.
you know, ooh, I have to stick to like five. Um, there's infinite
Yeah,
possibilities, you know?
people. Yeah, I had a point of view about that too because I thought, well, if there's infinite energies, then why would I just choose a few? But what I realized is that was actually not choosing any of them. And so
Yeah.
actually it was funny because how I saw this way long time ago, like probably 10, 12 years ago. I was standing outside, I was doing these, I had this download and I was like, oh my God, it's not about going for the things. It's about having your whole life be these energies that you would like to have or like to be. And I was like, that's why the vision boards never worked for me because it was always about the things. It was never about the energy. And that's when I was like, wait a second, if my whole life is these energies, it doesn't matter what shows up because
Mm-hmm.
everything is in these energies, and the energies is what's fulfilling and satisfying and fun and joyful and like all the stuff. It's the energies. So that's it for years, but I got the concept a long time ago. So what I did was I chose, like, somebody just asked in the chat, like, what are some of my priorities? Well, I have
Mm-hmm.
a framed priorities and targets, and
Yay.
some of them are a happy, strong, flexible, sexy body. So that's one energy set. Juicy, orgasmic, magical living is another one. Consciousness and contribution is another one. Hey, Danielle. Ease with being money, wealth, opulence, and VIP. So I have them in categories because they all sort of match. Excellence is another one that I added this year. They've changed over the years. I've been working with them for 4 or 5 years now. And when I tap into them, I can ask a question and go, okay, so let's just, I'm going to ask a random question. If I move into this house, I'm moving into a new house in 2 weeks. So I
Yay.
asked, okay, truth, if I move into this house, will it contribute to my happy, strong, flexible, sexy body? I got a light. Will it contribute to juicy, orgasmic, contribute to consciousness and contribution? I got a light. Ease with being money, wealth, opulence. Will it contribute to excellence? I got a super light on that one. So it really hones in your questions to not just like, is it light? Well, bullshit. Is it just light? Light could freaking be an entity standing next to you in
Yeah.
that moment, right? Like it doesn't actually give you
It's hilarious.
your dial. It's true though, right? I
Light could
used to
be an
do
entity
landmark.
standing next to you. Light could be somebody else
Like,
down the road. Yeah.
right. I used to do a lot of landmark education a long time ago. And what they used to say was that feeling in your gut might actually just be that you ate a bad burrito.
Yeah.
And it was so true because if you're just vague in your question, you're not going to get a specific awareness. You're actually going to be attuned to your points of view, attuned to the energy. Because if your question isn't specific enough, it's just say that all the time. Well, I chose it because it's light. So what happens is you start following the, which a lot of times is better than what it was. But when you're really looking to create a crazy possible life where you're having timeline hops, you've got to get specific with what you're asking for. So if you see mine, right, juicy orgasmic living, consciousness and contribution, excellence, money, wealth, those are encompassing a lot of energies, but I can say them. And I think that's one of
Mm-hmm.
the things that people fear the most is actually being able to say, put words to the energies, because once you can connect the words with the energies, not to limit them, but to identify them, to say yes to them, to play with them, then you can use them, right? Then you can use them in your everyday life. You can start playing with them. You can start embodying them, and you can start asking questions with them. But if you don't have any of them, you can't even ask a question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this.
Yeah.
And everybody watching is going, this is brilliant, this is brilliant. And it really, truly is brilliant, because it stopped me when I first did them. It stopped me from looking for almost like I'd taken my vision board and made a list instead. So I stopped doing the vision board because I didn't want to get disappointed anymore. It never worked. And then I started
Never
making
worked
a
for me
list
either.
like, what would it be like? Because a lot of us on here, practice the tools of access consciousness. So we're great at asking these questions. And I would be like, what would it be like to have a, sexy, rich man who's handsome and and the list goes on and on and on. And, oh, what would it be like to have a house with, and you've listed that. So it was just the vision board with a completely different angle. And you've put a question tag attached to it. But having the priorities stopped me from having the thing. So the house sort of got eliminated, the man got eliminated, and it went back into like, well, some of my priorities last year was kindness, nurturing, VIP, and delicious. Like that was a word that really popped for me. Like if anything was, and delicious gave me the sense of like it really makes my entire body feel like champagne, and everything lights up, and I'm just completely soaked in orgasmic living. So if nothing matched that, I just didn't choose it. And it was just brilliant because no longer was I seeking the boyfriend or the house or the job, but those things showed up within those energies. So I just really wanted to make people clear on that. Like that's what starts to really, really shift and change the way you're choosing.
Yeah.
You're no longer choosing from your list.
It's not a list. It's not a tick box. It's not that. It's really this space of being, and you start to. It'll expand your awareness. It'll. You can ask more clearly for what you would like, or clearly for awareness. And even when it shows up, if it doesn't match the energies that I'm asking for, it's a no. So, for example, looking for a house. We've been on the house hunt. We looked at a whole bunch of different houses, tons of them online. Went to view a bunch. And we'd go, and so it was like almost, but it was missing an energy, or almost, and it was missing this energy over here, or almost, and it was like, oh, so close, so close, so close. And then when we found the one, it was like, whoa, but we could have chosen any match. To you. You just sometimes have to wait a little longer. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes it shows up like that. But sometimes you just have to wait a little bit longer, be a little bit more patient and thorough, and not be willing to settle for something that's not a match. Because if you're aware of it, you're aware of those energies, and you ask, hey, is a house that matches these priorities, these energetic, is there a house that's available with these energies? And you get a yes. Okay, it exists. Where is it? Universe, show me. And then you're on the hunt, so to speak, to receive it. Yeah. So, and that's how it all works, is like, you can have it be like that when you know how to work it like that.
Yeah, completely. And it's a very different way of using ask and receive. Very, very different. It's sort of taken ask and receive, expanded it out. And to me, it really feels like the elevated or upgraded conversation. It really is truly tools for anybody who really wants to create their life like a leader, as a leader in the world. And that's one thing leaders do have in common, is they're clear. Where did you go?
Irrational. Well, when this what's so funny is it's so pragmatic and extraordinarily irrational. There's up how you think it is, but the choices are usually not what you think they are. When you're truly asking, okay, what's it going to take to have more of that energy? Then it's crazy the choices that show up. They're freaking insane sometimes. Like some of the most why you did that, but because I'm actually congruent with them, people typically don't question it. Because I'm congruent. It's when we're not congruent with it and we choose something, people are like, what? And because they can feel it, they can perceive the incongruence too.
Awesome. So you teach a lot of this, like, because that's another thing, like becoming congruent and being congruent rather than talking about congruency. There's such a difference. And that really is the key for me, like with ask and receive. If you're not congruent with what you're asking for, chances are it's not going to show up. So one is you're getting clear on the energies you'd like your life to be like, and then the congruency. Again, another elevated, expanded conversation here.
Right. Well, and it's interesting too, because congruent is what I've found with the people that I've worked with. It's
you keep breaking up
you're
at my end, Cory.
Is it your end or is it my end? Is it you or is it me?
To know what else is possible. The second you said entities, I'm like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay.
All right, back
You're
up.
good
We
again
hear
now.
ya. Thank you for playing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So
They're like, we're congruent with you. We're congruent with
we
you.
we want to play over here. Acknowledge us, please. The beings that we just have to ask to be congruent, and then we're congruent. But there's a lot is in a lot of our ways if we haven't been congruent and things our life hasn't been what we would like to have as our life. There's things you got to sort of address and get out of the way, and it's not just an overnight process. It's not just one question. It's not just a 90-minute thing. It's like you got to address a number of different things that are actually having you be incongruent with you. And when you address these things and look at them from the space of no judgment and go, oh, that's what I've been doing to myself. All right, let's actually get that out of the way and actually implement a being and tools that actually go, oh, okay, so instead of doing that to myself and those old patterns and everything, here's something else. Then you actually start to empower yourself to choose congruent, be congruent with yourself, right? It doesn't just happen overnight. Different choices that create the congruency. Do you have everything you need?
It hasn't happened overnight.
No, unfortunately, I wish. I
You're
wish I had
breaking
that
up
magic pill.
again.
I'd sell it. Oh, goodness, entities.
You are breaking up again. Where are you? Is it my end? Can everybody else still see Cory and hear Cory? Is it just me? Can you guys just pop something in the chat box? She's frozen on my screen.
All right, am I back?
You are. But
Hello?
you're still kind of
Hello?
crackly.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
you're back. We have heaps of people on here.
Has
Does
to get
anybody
better.
have any questions for this brilliant, amazing creator of clarity and congruency and yeah. Yes, Sarah
Yes.
said she
Hi,
can hear
Sarah.
just fine. Awesomeness. So what's the one question I should be asking you today that nobody ever thinks to ask you?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I don't know. Let's see. I think you probably already, or at least I already addressed it. The desire thing.
Mm-hmm.
People assume they know. A lot of people assume that desire is the space of creation, right? They have
Wow.
to desire something to create
Mm-hmm.
it. Is be created, or it is the thing, because there's a lot of points of view around desire. And I think that's the one thing that a lot of people don't ask questions about. And I actually asked Gary Douglas in a class because people were starting to say desire. I desire this, and somebody even said like, oh, this class desires to be, shared. And I was just like, Gary, what is that? Like, that's super heavy for me. Like, I get like I want to throw punch the person when they say that. And he's like, it's because desire is a projected point of view. And I
Desire.
was like, yeah, that's what I was getting too. It was like, it's just a projection of some point of view that you have. It could be a projection of a lightness you perceive. It could be a projection of an old point of view of what you think you want. It could be a projection of whatever, but a projected point of view that sometimes if you actually desire it, you're attached to.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
Like the man I
right?
desired who was going to come on a white horse and, have
Yeah.
gold ripping from his arms to like shower, like just totally going off into my la la fantasy land. So would you say desire could also be a part of a fantasy almost, like it kind of gets you out of being congruent and actually being present in your life, and it's a bit of a la la.
It can totally be. It totally can be if you're not congruent with the desire. If you're congruent with the desire, have your desires. But I think that just people don't even ask what is the desire. They think because it's there and they've called it a desire that that it is somewhat significant or important. And in my, like I said before, in my world, desire isn't important at all. The lightness is what's congruent with what I'm asking for, what's congruent with what I see as possible in the world, what is congruent with the life that would make my life worth living. That's what I'm interested in. And I don't have any desire there. It's more like the space of possibility. So that's just my interesting take on it.
I love that though, because it literally takes the myth out of desire. And we are going to wrap up soonish because I do have facilitations all day today. But one of the things I just wanted to touch on too is this idea of desire. It's almost like the preference you have for life as well, which is again, not choice and possibility. So, you know, your desire could be an ice cream, or your preference could be like, you know, the chocolate flavored ice cream. So then you're focused on that rather than what else is possible, and actually choosing something that works for you and is congruent for you. Because the chocolate ice cream might not be congruent with you at all, or anywhere like
There could be
close
something
to your
better.
priorities. There could be something better.
Yeah,
So your
there could be
desires would
something
also limit that. Yeah.
potentially. Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
there's always better. So for all the shoppers of futures out there, like I think they've got so many different tips and tools and all this sort of stuff for you. But if you are shopping for your future and you would like to get clear on some of your priorities and becoming congruent with the energies you'd like to have in your life as your life, how can people find you, Miss Cory Michelle? And do you teach this stuff? Like, what would you, I mean, I already know this, but I'm being an interviewer. Just tell them what you do.
Tell them. Okay, so I'm posting it in the chat right now. I have a free web class called The Unicorn's Guide to Living Crazy Possible. I know some of you guys have already done it. And then there's also Facebook Lives I'm doing right now every day. And if you wanted a notification to your inbox with the video link to that, I'm going to post that in the chat here too. And then if you're actually have already seen all this stuff, the Art of Living Crazy Possible class is where it's at. And that we're doing actually in a couple of days, we'll be announcing the live events in Vancouver, New York City, Australia, and Maui right now. Those are the 4 I have around the world. And then we also have online classes so you don't have to wait or travel at all. And the online ones, you can actually check out the testimonials, and Manjit is actually one of them because she's changed her whole freaking life using these energies. Like she's being a little shy about that, but she's done a lot of this
I'm
work
being an interviewer.
freaking changed everything. I'm gonna put it in here.
I truly have, and this is not about like, I wanted this to be a conversation for people to actually start getting the energies of what it is like shopping for your future from receiving and the energies of receiving. But I will add to that. I have loved the congruency part, and I've loved the priority part, so much so because I always have been a pragmatic person. And then I started working with energies, and all of a sudden I seem to have lost that sense of who I was, because I all of a sudden was in the confused state of I didn't know what I wanted anymore because there was so much to choose from. So for me, having that clarity, for me, nothing to do with anybody else, nothing to do with taking a class, it was just living my life that was congruent with what I truly wanted, desired, whatever the word is, but also following the lightness. Like I didn't know what light was, so I'd often dismiss the heavy, or, you know, choose the light or choose the heavy. And there was so much confusion with that for me that I often just gave up and surrendered, which was taking a passive role in my life, almost a backseat approach. And this had me back in the driver's seat going, right, I know which way I'm going. And for everybody watching, one of my biggest priorities this year is elegance, and living with elegance and being elegance. And it's just already transforming my entire world with how I'm looking at it, being with it, talking to it. And can I share with people one of the most amazing things that has shown up for me this year is I have become an Art of Living Crazy Possible facilitator. I think I'm the only one at the moment.
Yep. So far, the official.
I haven't actually said this online, and even as we're speaking, I just want to share with you guys in terms of shopping for your future. Do not give up on the things that you really truly want. I know this is an interview for Cory, but I just wanted to share. I saw Cory at my very first certified facilitators with access consciousness, and being so pragmatic. I was on a six-figure income at the time, and I remember looking around the room going, who can teach me how to apply these tools in the most dynamic way? I have the tools, I have my manual, I have every possibility available for me, but who in this room can show me a way of fast tracking, catalyzing this? Because I'm not driving in the slow lane. I want to get in the fast lane even faster. And I looked around and there was Cory Michelle, and I did not know her, and I just knew. I remember in that moment, I shopped for a future that hadn't existed. And I thought, I am going to be working with this woman. And I don't know how, and I don't know when. And I forgot that I even had that ask and demand in my world. But here we go, 2 or 3 years later, I've become an Art of Living Crazy Possible facilitator. So be aware of your asks. And when you are shopping for your future, it may take a little while, and it will not show up the way you think it's going to show up. And it had you come to Australia, really, didn't it?
Yeah, it had me facilitate a class in Cairns where you were. Out of all the places in Australia, I facilitated in Cairns. And
hot,
you know what's funny
sticky,
too?
muggy.
I remembered meeting you, and then I remembered somebody asked me to come to Australia to do a class, but I didn't connect the dots until way after we had reconnected, and I was like, oh yeah, that was you. Like, so it's so freaking amazing how the universe works, and you don't have to head trip it, and you don't have to be involved in every little energy and every little everything all the time. When you start asking and receiving and follow the energy, you can just trust that when you get to that space, and when you have that for yourself. It's freaking amazing. It's amazing. And it's been so fun to watch you expand and really grow and really get like clear and clarity. Because Manjit, if you haven't noticed, shopping for a future is definitely one of her capacities and superpowers. As she asks and she receives it, I watched her and I was like, that's freaking cool what you're doing right there. She's like, I'll have that and that and that and that, and then all of it shows up. It's like magic. So you guys are in the right group.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a shopping for my future, watching you that day in Facilitators. You stood up and said something and blew my mind, but not from what you were saying. I don't even remember that, but it was just who you were being. You were so clear. There was a clarity in your world that I hadn't quite come across. And that was shopping for my future. I was like, I'll have that. But not only did I get that, I got to have you live in Australia, and I got to facilitate the Art of Living Crazy Possible, and I've got to travel the world with you in so many different places. So please know, you guys, if you're shopping for your future, really shop from the space of who you're going to become. Because one of my biggest demands for me was being the best version of me. Yeah. Being the best version of me meant I wanted the best people around who could actually activate that, cultivate that, and invite me to that. So the Art of Living Crazy Possible was a doorway to a world I had no idea even existed.
Yeah. And Manjit we're doing this really cool hybrid model of the delivery of the next online class, the Art of Living Crazy Possible online. And Manjit is the facilitator for that. So if any of this reads for you and you love Manjit, you could actually play with both of these things at the same time, and me as well, in the class. But if you click one of those links, it'll take you there and you can check it out. So I'm so excited to have you facilitating this material, because she really embodies it. She uses it. She can facilitate it. She was already facilitating it with her clients anyway. So it was like a no-brainer.
How can I not?
I'm so excited.
But beautiful. Well, so everybody watching this, please check out Cory and her live videos. She really is one of the most generous people you're going to meet, and she literally lives this ask and receive, and receiving everything that's available in this world. You know, shop for your future, shop audaciously with an open heart. You know, we came here, we chose to be on the planet at such an exciting time. Use it all and embody it all and be it all. And don't let your limitations stop you. They're so tiny. And if they are stopping you, take a class. Like, Actually, just choose something. What would your future be like?
Yeah.
Is there anything else
Yeah.
you want to add before we finish up here?
I think we gave them a lot. And if you just popped on, you might want to go to the beginning. This was really good.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was really good. It's really good. You guys are amazing. And I see a lot of people I know on here. So hi, everybody. And what else is possible now? What else is crazy
Thank you, everybody,
possible?
for joining. And
All
I'm
right.
just loving all the love. Mwah. Share this with your friends. Share this with everybody. Just share it.
Shout around.
Bye, beautiful Cory.
All right.
Thank you so much for you and your time today and your generosity as usual.
Thank you for you. All right, you guys. See you
Thank
soon.
you.